Hi, entrepreneur. Welcome to your Entrepreneur Resources Show. I'm super excited that you're here with me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Venice, your host, and here at your Entrepreneur Resources, we discover the no-fluff action steps to help you avoid all the overwhelm and all the BS out there, connecting you with the right mentors, resources, and tools, helping you every step of the way on your entrepreneurial journey. We go live here twice a week, interviewing different entrepreneurs and experts on all areas of business. So make sure to join our Facebook group and look out for the events inside your Entrepreneur Resources page. You can find the links in the description box. Today, I have a very special guest with me. It is Kathryn Thompson. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yay! So Kathryn is an award-winning marketing and communications expert with more than 15 years of experience. Kathryn started her own business consultancy firm, Creatively Owned. It's a firm dedicated to helping entrepreneurs launch their ideas and create compelling content that attracts their ideal audience. In this interview, we're going to be talking about the biggest obstacles that entrepreneurs face when creating content and the 3 key components to help them overcome these hurdles so that they can reach their right audience and make a bigger impact. I'm super excited because I think content is such a big topic. Before we dive in, I would love to hear more about your business and your journey, if you don't mind sharing with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm super honored and grateful to be here today live with you and to share my journey with you. So yeah, I spent 15 years working in corporate marketing communications before ditching that career for full-time entrepreneurship 4 years ago, which I ended up opening a winemaking business. So I stepped away from marketing communications for a little bit, probably 2 years of running my brick and mortar, realized that I wasn't fully aligned with that deeper purpose or mission, and that I really wanted to help entrepreneurs, online business owners really create that captivating content and messaging so that they could attract the audience and the clients that they want, and really help get their message out there, right? In cut through sort of the noisy online space, which is what a lot of entrepreneurs are facing right now, is that struggle of like, how do I stand out? How do I put my message in front of the right people? And so really helping them do that. And I started that business, Creatively Owned 2 years ago, which I'm now in full time. I sold my brick and mortar winemaking business in the fall. So
That's amazing. Congratulations.
I
feel like
know.
we talked about this before, but wine industry is definitely very interesting. I know we all probably love a glass of wine after work. So you've got all the details and all the knowledge regarding wine.
Yes.
So you know you've got your work life sorted, you've got your drinks after work, relaxing time sorted.
Totally. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, well, so what exactly is content? Because I know there are so many different types and there's so many different platforms these days. So what exactly is content?
Yeah, so content is basically your emails that you send, your Instagram posts, what we're doing right now, right here, live on Facebook. Could be your YouTube. It could be it's anything. The way in which you're communicating. It's the pieces that you put out into the world. It could be a Pinterest post. There's so many different platforms, which is also very true. So it's really that way in which you communicate with your audience.
Mm-hmm. And why is content so important? Because I know we hear about it all the time. Be consistent, fresh content, go viral, like all these different things. Like, why is it so important?
Content is the vehicle in which people are going to be attracted to you. It's the way in which you're going to be able to engage with your audience, sell to your audience, drive traffic to your business. The 3 key pieces would be drive traffic to your business, create that engagement, building that know, like, and trust with your audience, and then obviously selling the product and services that you have to offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to dive deeper into this a little bit later on, but I would love to hear more about the obstacles that entrepreneurs face, because I know I face a lot of obstacles when it comes to content, but I'd love to hear about the different experience you've had in terms of the obstacles that entrepreneurs face.
Yeah, so one of the biggest obstacles that I hear from my clients and audience is like, I don't know what to say in order to results that I want to get. Is it traffic, engagement, sales, and all of that, really, right? You're in business to sell, to help, to create an impact. But at the end of the day, you have to sell what it is that you're offering, or you don't have a business. And so it's the biggest one is that I don't know what to say. I'm lost for words. I'm not a good writer. I'm just
Mhm.
sitting at my computer, or I'm completely winging it, right? And so that's the other biggest number two, is that we're just winging it. You're just putting content out, hoping something will land or stick with your audience. And I see that
Mhm.
so often. And then the other really big one is just not having a clear message. So I always say your messaging and that overarching clear message is the thing that actually drives your content. And so you can see this on social media with people, and that goes hand in hand with winging it, right? It's like, I don't actually really know what my message is, or the message that's going to resonate with my audience in a way that gets them to take action or create that desire demand for what it is that I'm saying. So those would be sort of the biggest key ones. Yeah, and they all kind of tie back into, like I said, having a clear message. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually so true because when it comes to, like if you don't know what to say, then obviously you're just going to you get told every day, okay, be consistent, have fresh content. So then you just kind of put
Yeah.
out content and hoping that it would work. And also you don't have a clear message. And that kind of all ties in so well together. And when it comes to content at the end of the day, if you like those obstacles, even though you know them, it doesn't mean that you know how to solve them. Because
Right.
just because I'm like, oh, I don't know what to say, I don't know what to post, that doesn't lead me anywhere. I don't know how to
No.
solve that.
Yeah.
So I'm like
Totally.
so excited to hear more about what you have to say regarding how to overcome these hurdles. Like, please share with us.
Yeah. Yeah. So the big first is messaging, I mean, sort of the working deep purpose that your business has, right? And so for me, it really is to help entrepreneurs use the power of words to communicate the value of what they do so that they can sell more of what they offer and create that bigger impact. That for me is succinct messaging, and everything else that I do drives that content. And so without that foundational messaging, who are you, why you do what you do, what is that you offer, and what makes you different, you're going to have a really hard time creating content, and creating a plan for your content, because it really is that simple. If you have those driving things, who you are, what you do, why you do what you do, and what makes you different, then your content gets driven by that. And it's very succinct. And, obviously there's frameworks and whatnot on writing copy that converts and that sort of thing. But the first piece is really laying that foundation for your messaging. And one of the things I often see in entrepreneurship, and I did it with my brick and mortar, right? I invested in it, opened the doors, and we just started trying to sell what it is that we were offering. But the thing is that, and so we start with the idea of like, I got to create content. I just got to get out there. I got to get seen and heard. But without that messaging foundation, it's really hard to get seen and heard. But we want those immediate results right away. So we're just wired to just go out there and start doing things. So that's the first big piece for people, is to create that messaging foundation or plan or strategy, who they want to help, what
Mhm.
makes them different, why they do what they do. And then it's to create a content strategy that works
Oh
for
wait,
you and
sorry.
your business.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I
Yeah.
just have a quick question about, yeah, I
Yeah.
love what you said about the clear messaging. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I know there are entrepreneurs that's listening right now that's going to say, okay, I understand, I need that, but
Yeah.
how do I come up with a clear messaging? Because we know that. We know, the typical I help statement, right? Like I help
Yeah.
blah,
Yes.
do what, all of that. But how do you execute it? How do you convey your message? I mean, I'm sure we're going to talk more about that, but
Yeah.
how do we come up with that clear messaging in the beginning?
Yeah. So again, really get it. So for me, the biggest thing that I always say to people is really connecting with who they are and what they stand for. So lots of stuff we hear out there is like, it's all about your audience. We just want to talk to your audience. It doesn't matter with you or who you are. And I actually say that's wrong, because it really does matter who you are and what you stand for. So really getting clear with that purpose and connecting with your purpose. So there's a difference. There's lots of people that'll teach the I help statement, I help X or whoever get X results. Connected to that, when you go to rent, your audience is going to feel that. And so you have to be connected to your purpose. And sometimes this takes of like, for me, it was meditation. It was just silencing the world. It was actually stepping away from social media and creating content, because we can go down the rabbit hole of scrolling on Insta and looking for that inspiration, and they're doing all the other things. But at the end of the day, you have to be connected to that purpose, that bigger vision in your business. And I don't think you can get that from looking outside of yourself and looking at all what everybody else is doing, because it's going to feel artificial to your audience when you go to start to execute content. So really silencing and stepping away. And it is okay to step away from social media. It's okay to step away from creating content. Your business isn't going to fall apart. It's actually the best thing you can possibly do if you're struggling to come up with your messaging, is to turn off the outside world is the biggest step. And the answers will start to come. Like you'll get into alignment. You'll start to feel like, okay, this is where I want to go, solely based on that quiet time, that silencing, just connecting with yourself, really, because it does come the inside. I believe your message and your mission and who you are and what you stand for really is driven by that. And so I know it's so counterintuitive, because it's like, well, just give me the steps to write content or give me the steps to do all the things. But it really is just stop looking for inspiration outside of yourself, and go quiet for a bit and think about, who you are, and even journal that, like, who am I? What is important to me? What are my core values? What do I stand for? And core values being like integrity, fun, am I ambitious? Like, what are those core values? Because at the end of the day, when you're in alignment with your core values, once you start creating content, will get drawn to you based on those core values, right? And that can be infused in everything that you do.
Mhm.
So the very first step is just figuring out who you are, what you stand for, and why this is so important to you, because that's what people are going to eventually invest in, really, is that bigger, deeper
I love
vision.
that.
Yeah.
I think that's actually so important, because we see all these marketers out there, they're doing the same thing, and they're like, yeah, you should do this, you should do that. So now we're like, okay, we're gonna do the exact same thing. We're gonna follow them and do exactly what they're doing. But the thing is, we don't actually have the same impact, because we are not them.
Yeah.
We don't have the same values as them. We don't have the
Totally.
same reason why we're doing our business, why we're putting out content, why we're working with different people, collaborating with people. We have completely different reasons and lives, So
Totally.
I 100% love that. You have to know why you're doing your business, your values, like what does it stand for? And also, I guess, like, it can help you stand apart, because if your values are, you're very eco-friendly, you do like I don't know, vegan products or whatever, then people that are those specific, that niche, would come to you and say, yes, I resonate with you. I completely agree with you. So
Totally.
100%. Love that. Yeah. Okay, so you were going to talk about content creation plan. Please, go ahead with the second tip.
Yeah. So once you nail down that foundation, you want to create a plan that works for you and for your business. The word consistency is so vague, and so many marketers just say, be consistent, show up and be consistent. And for every human on the planet, that means something very different. And so let's just think of a massive influencer that might have a massive team of people. They're posting every day, they're on stories, but we don't see that as early entrepreneurs, where they're posting every day, but they have a massive team behind them that's doing it. And so what happens is we get on this content creation wheel, and we're on all the platforms, and we get burnt out, especially because we haven't laid the foundation in our messaging. So we're just creating content that's not getting the traction. We get discouraged and we quit. And so it really is creating a plan that's right for you and based on the pillars within your messaging. So again, who you are, why you do what you do, what makes you different, which is huge. That's your positioning. Lots of people don't talk about the positioning, but it is what will actually help you stand out, and who you serve, getting really specific on who you serve. And then you can create a plan and a strategy that works for you. And I often say this, like, start with one platform and master it. And then get on a second platform, and then get, like, where is your audience hanging out the most? Get on that platform and master it, 2 at max, until you've learned a strategy that works on those platforms, and that something's working. Otherwise, you just get on that, like I said, that content hamster wheel that you become so overwhelmed with content creation. And there are ways to streamline content too. But like I said, creating that plan that works specifically for your business and where you feel like you can put the most energy in connecting with your audience, because you don't need a big following to start selling your products or services. And so you just need a
Mhm.
very specific, loyal client base or audience that is interested in what you're doing. So that's
Mhm.
the other big piece, is that we don't need this massive following, which is, I think, what drives people wanting to get on all the platforms, because they're like, if I just have people everywhere, eventually someone's going to engage or buy into what I'm selling. And that really isn't the case. It's getting very specific with who you're talking to, and connect with them on whatever platform it is, and then
Mhm.
master that, and then move on to the other platforms. And I say we saw this with Clubhouse when Clubhouse was rolled out, is like all of a sudden
Yeah.
everyone just rushed to Clubhouse, and it was like, I talked to so many people that they weren't even getting clients on Instagram or Facebook, but yet now they're over on Clubhouse because people said they were making money on Clubhouse, which is great. But if you're not making money on Instagram or connecting with your audience there, or Facebook, you're likely not going to be able to do it on Clubhouse without that content and messaging strategy. So, yeah.
No, 100%. I love that you brought up the fact that there's so many different platforms and we should focus on one. But
Yeah.
besides social media platforms, I'm just curious, do you think people should like have their email marketing, like content, their emails and newsletters and all those things out there from day one? And also, for example, like blogging and like being on interviews and things like that. Like, how would you balance that?
Yeah, so love that you asked this big piece. That visibility and impact is a huge piece in order to, like I said, drive traffic and um, engagement and build your audience. So in terms of balancing, again, it really goes back to what capacity you have. And for me, this is how I tackle my content. I write a blog, and then from that blog, I use that content to drive other pieces of my content. So I repurpose so much of what I do. And then something like this, where I'm here chatting with you, I can then share this on my platform. So this is like one day of content for me that's taken care of. So email marketing is so, so important. And here's why. I had a client recently that had a really big following on Instagram, and her account got shut down. It's gone, like completely
No
wiped. They said,
way.
yeah, you're faking something about you're faking the account or something. And she's like, what? So she spent the last week and a half trying to get her account back, and it's gone. So
That's
all of
seriously what people are so
insane.
scared of, and
Yes.
you don't think it would happen to you until it does, and you're like, wait a second, Oh gosh.
And all of the content, right, that she created, and the audience, and Instagram was primarily where she sold from. So no real
Mm,
email list, no nothing. And so this is what I always say: if I highly recommend starting your email list first, actually, with one platform, because
mhm.
that email list is your asset. They've signed up, they've said, hey, I want to hear from you, and they're to drop into my inbox. So email would be the first thing that I do. I'm a huge proponent of setting up a website. I know there's lots of coaches and people out there that say, don't do the website, da da da, whatever. You don't need a website. But I think, again, it's an asset you own. I mean, yes, I guess
Yes.
the World Wide Web could go down or whatever, but I built my website and my email first as a priority. And then I joined Facebook and Instagram. And I ran that for 2 years before I got back on LinkedIn. So it really, again, it goes back to doing what's manageable for you and your business. But I highly recommend having a website and having email. Yeah.
I love that you bring this up because in one of the programs that I run, I 100% say, forget about social media in the beginning. I know
Yeah.
it's important, it's going to give you visibility, but
Yeah.
your website is your home. It's
Yeah.
where you welcome people. You can customize it as much as you want. You can decorate it. You can put things here. And, just imagine in a flea market where there are like so many different booths and, you only have that little space. You have to like follow certain requirements,
Yeah.
and then people
Totally.
come and they get distracted. They're like, oh, there's another booth over there. And they just head on out and just go check out that booth. So having your website, I think anyways, like I know there are
Yeah.
different opinions out there. I think 100% agree. Super, super important.
Yes. Yeah, and there's again so many ways you can and it's funny because Facebook came out with the iOS 14 update with Facebook ads, right? And so everybody started to
Mhm.
panic about these, how is this going to affect my ads? And lots of the comments I started to see in different forums were, why aren't you focusing on SEO and Google, right? Like
Mm,
why are you putting all your eggs on Facebook ads? And yeah, it's frustrating for Facebook because it's limiting how their stuff is being delivered, but SEO and Google is a powerhouse, right? And that can be
mhm,
your website right there, right? In terms of driving traffic to your business. So yeah.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. But saying all of this, for those of you that are listening that might be like, okay, I don't have time to do a website. I have my Instagram right now. That's okay. Focus on that for now. Email
Yes.
list, it's easy to add, but again, don't get overwhelmed because I think that's the issue. Like, there are like all these different, I mean, not the issue per se, but
Yeah.
we get so much information every day. So just don't get overwhelmed. Focus on the things that matter right now, but also
Yeah.
just get clear on your messaging and your content.
Yeah.
And do you have another tip for us regarding how to kind of overcome these hurdles that you mentioned earlier?
Yeah. So the messaging piece, and it really does tie into like the overwhelm because I do. So it's the messaging, really clear content, strategy, and plan in place that's balanced for you and your business. And every business is different. So don't buy into the like this person's doing this, I need to do it. And then the whole like overwhelm piece, right, is having some way within your business to find that balance. There's always going to be something else you can take on. There's always going to be else that you can do. And I just think that the overwhelm actually ends up causing blocks in your creative flow. So if you find yourself creatively blocked and you can't write or you don't know what to say or how to say it, and you've got the messaging and the content strategy down, it's likely because you're running on overdrive, overwhelmed, burnt out, too many thoughts running up in the head. And so I always say, again, step away, walk away from it, and go in nature, read a book, I don't know, do some physical activity, which again is so counterintuitive because we're wired to just do, work, work, work. And so I always say, just walk away from it, and the ideas eventually will start to flow. So that's the other big piece to kind of overcome that creative content creation obstacle when it comes to attracting your audience. So
I love that. I say that all the time actually. If you're
love
feeling
it.
overwhelmed, you're stuck, step away. That's like my biggest tip as well. Just step away. I know it's hard because I feel guilty when I'm not in front of my computer. I'm like, "No, I need to be working." But working doesn't mean sitting in front of your computer 24/7. Working
Totally.
doesn't mean creating content constantly. It's about, tuning in on yourself, understanding your values, understanding why you're doing this, and also allowing yourself to breathe, like, calm
Yeah,
down. It's okay. Take a minute, take an hour, take a day, take a week even. Just step away
totally.
from the computer. I
Yeah,
love that. And I just want to come back to what you talked about earlier about repurposing content, because I
yeah,
think that is key to content
yes.
creation. Do you have any tips for us? Like, I know you shared that, you create kind of like a pillar content, like a blog post, and share it everywhere. How do you do that really? Like, what platform do you share it on, or do you change your graphics? Like, how do you repurpose your content?
Yeah, so the blog kind of drives the bigger piece of the content, and so I have a process in place where the blog post is written like in a Google Doc. I tag my VA. My VA then takes that content, puts it on the blog, creates a cover graphic for Instagram that's different than Facebook and LinkedIn. And then we just have that process in place of how the content is shared and when it's shared based on when the blog was written. So the blogs are typically written on a Tuesday. If I'm doing more live podcasts with people or live events like this, then I might take a break from creating that and share the pieces that I've gone live with instead. But basically, it's like I write in a Google Doc, very basic, tag her. If you don't have a VA or anything like that, again, it's just creating kind of some steps of like, what day do I want this posted on Facebook? What day do I want it posted on Instagram? And what day do I want to send it out via email? right? If you don't want to create different graphics for everything, for Facebook, we just put the link to the blog. So it shows the blog graphic image that we've picked, right? So Instagram's the only thing that's different. And then I don't really have any story templates. I kind of try to keep it simple. So I just go live on my stories and say, hey, new blog released. And then I just share the post. So nothing super fancy there at all. I try to streamline really kind of everything that I do because I can get overwhelmed with all the moving parts. So I try to keep things in like 1 to 5 steps so that it's easy for me to understand, but also easy for me to translate to a VA if you have a VA or a team. Yeah.
I love that you talked about streamlining and having that kind of routine and that process to kind of make things so simple. You write a blog post and the next step is just creating graphics and posting like this day of the week. It makes things so simple, right? Like you don't, like, again, when it comes to content, it's so important not to drive yourself crazy and overcomplicating things.
Totally. And it can be like exactly that simple. And I just have it in an Asana calendar. I mean, Trello does it, right? I just have it in Asana. And it just tells me on every day of the week what is needed to do where. And then my VA has what she needs to do based on the process. And then in terms of scheduling, I post everything on Instagram. That's where I hang out the most. And so I'm in there all the time. So I just do it. But she schedules everything on Facebook, posts on LinkedIn and Twitter. That's kind of where, the content goes, but that's just streamlined. So it's just regurgitated from what I've written in the Google Doc and she's just posting it. So super simple.
Yeah. Like speaking about VAs, like when it comes to content creation and outsourcing that, so do you create that system and then you hire someone and you just like, okay, so here's the system, here's how it works, like take it away.
Absolutely. That's also a really great point to touch on because when I first hired my VA, I didn't have the systems and I think I expected them to have them. And at the end of the day, like likely a VA coming in, if they're not a project manager, they're not going to have that. And so that's where I got backwards. So I had to actually take a step back, create the process in the system so that it was, so that they had a plan to follow. So really important to kind of, I always say, anytime you're doing something is a really good habit just to start writing down the steps you took to get there, because then you know exactly, and then you can easily hand that off to anybody that you're outsourcing out to, right? It just makes the process so much easier because sometimes we forget even the steps we take to get there, right? And so I just find it a really great habit to get into of like, okay, what did it take for me to write that blog? Or what did it take for me to do that YouTube video or whatever it is? And then it's really easy to hand off. Yeah.
I love that. I think it's so important. I know for entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, it can be intimidating. Like you're not making much money yet, or maybe even any in the beginning. And I don't think you should, like spend money you don't have. But outsourcing really frees up so much time. I hired 2 assistants, I think a month ago actually, and it's the best. I'm like, wait a second, I actually don't know what to do now because I've like, distributed everything and I can like again, step away and think about it, right? Like managing my business instead of like running the business 24/7. So I really love outsourcing. Such a great way to kind of streamline your content creation process and also just every part of your business, really. Yeah.
I was just going to say, it was always like a hurdle for, I know the first time I invested in a VA, it was like, why did I wait so long? Because it frees up your time then to think of other ways to, like I said, drive traffic, create engagement, right? But when you're so overwhelmed, it's really hard to be creative. It's really hard to think of like the different ways that you can be innovative in your business. And as an entrepreneur, that's, I think, one of the big reasons why we go into this, right? Is like to be creative, to be innovative, to create solutions for people. So getting that help and outsourcing is so important. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes like spending a little bit of money could bring you even more money down the line. So it's okay to invest a little bit and just kind of, like, I know it's scary because, like when you pay someone, you're like, that amount of money is going away, but not really. You're investing into your business. So it's kind of changing that mindset. Yeah.
Totally.
And also, I just have another question. I have so many
Yeah.
questions. I love this topic.
Yes.
Do you have any tools? You talked about Asana before, but do you have any tools that you recommend when it comes to content creation and your content creation plan?
Yeah, so I create everything in Google Docs. I was not a Google Doc person, and then I hired a VA, and she put me basically into Google Docs. Was like, let's. This is the best way to share. So again, I keep things so simple. I have Asana for like my calendar and keeping me kind of on track of what needs to be done, and then I create everything in a Google Doc. So all my blog posts, all my emails, everything, my Instagram posts, all of that. Again, a really great thing to do so that you have documentation of it as well. Because for whatever reason, if Instagram goes away, there goes like could be years of content, right? Gone if it's not documented. So I'm not saying to go back and document everything if you've like I don't want to scare people into doing that, but it's just a really great habit to get into to document even your website, different things like that. So Google Docs really is the technology I use in Asana. So nothing fancy, nothing super advanced. That's just the two pieces of stuff that I use to do everything in.
Yeah, I love that. And also sometimes it's not about, overcomplicating things. I know there's so many software and we get shiny object syndrome. We're
Totally.
like, oh, there's that. There's this new like project management software that's going to help me streamline everything. But honestly, it's not going to help you streamline everything. You have to be the one that puts in the effort and, like input everything and systemize everything. So just
Yeah.
keeping it simple, it's so key.
Yeah.
Like instead of spending hours and hours learning a new tool or software, just stick with what you know, stick with what you have. You can experiment and play with different things, but
Yeah.
if you have time, like don't
Yeah.
overcomplicate things for yourself.
I do automate my emails. So I do have
Mhm.
Kajabi, which is where
Yeah.
so all my emails are automated through there and all my opt-in. So that's the other big piece of technology. Have email, I highly recommend automating it to some degree. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you shouldn't be sending out your emails through like Gmail or Hotmail anyways, because you're going to get flagged and they're going to just be
Yeah.
like, why are you sending hundreds of emails? Yeah, so 100%. Yeah, get an email service provider or like an automation tool.
Yeah.
Great. I know there's so many more questions and so many things we want to talk about, but we do have to stop wrapping up. I know you have a free gift for us. Do you mind sharing a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so it is the framework that I use inside my program. It's the freebie that I have on my website. It basically is a 6-step framework for walking you through how to create content that converts. And it's not a typical framework or where I just list this is what it is kind of thing. It actually helps you answer a lot of questions. So it's very question based, where I'm getting you to think about your business, your content specifically for you, rather than me telling you this is what I do in my business, because really it is about your business. So it's just a framework that's going to walk you through a bunch of steps. It really helps you create that content that's going to be captivating and that's going to help you convert. So a big piece, whether that's driving traffic, lead gen, all of that, we want our content to convert and turn into sales eventually. So yeah.
Amazing. I'll leave the link in the description box for anyone that's interested in grabbing it. Amazing. So before I let you go, do you mind just sharing where people can connect with you as well?
Yeah, so I hang out, like I said, mostly on Instagram at Creatively Owned, but I'm also at Creatively Owned on Facebook as well.
Yay. And your website?
www.creativellyowned.com.
Perfect. Very easy to remember.
Yes.
Thank you again so much for being on your Entrepreneur Resources show. I know there's so many tips and strategies and action steps that you've shared. And for those of you that need the notes, make sure to check out the show notes that I'll link in the description box. We've got our live interviews with experts here twice a week, so make sure to stay tuned and join our community on Facebook. Again, you can find all the links in the description box. Thank you so much for being here and sharing all these tips, and thank you everyone for tuning in. I'll chat with you very soon.